Thank you so much for joining us today for the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. Here on the Pastor's Potluck, it's similar to a normal potluck where you might get something that you want and there may be something that you just want to pass up altogether. And that's okay. There's something here for everybody. Our goal here is to encourage you and maybe in the process entertain you. If you're ready, let's dig in. Well, welcome to another episode of the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. I didn't say challenge this week. Last 2 weeks, I've wanted to say challenge.
Pastor's
Potluck Challenge.
Oh.
That's weird.
There's a lot of challenges happening on social media. Always.
Yes. But I don't know why I associate it with the, I don't know, it's a challenge. I don't know. Maybe I just want it to be a competition, which is silly.
What would the competition look like for Pastor's Potluck?
I don't know. Who's got a better podcast that talks about the most random stuff?
We do.
We talk about, I'm telling you, we've talked about, it seems like we've only scratched the surface because we've only got like 62, 63 episodes or whatever. That's only 63 different topics, but some of them have been multiples, you know, so we've done like a series on like spiritual gifts. We've done a series on like getting to know people.
Yeah.
And last week we talked about candy. And this,
I don't know how you can fill an hour with candy.
Dude, it's easy. It's so easy. You have to put yourself in the position of someone who is extremely passionate about these things that we talk about every single week.
That's true.
And I like to research like random, crazy, off the wall stuff and try to come up with questions about things. If it is even more so if it's something that I know nothing about. Like I know I like candy, but I didn't know certain things about candy that we talked about and we brought up. So you should go back and listen to it if you don't know what I'm talking about.
It's all made of plastic.
No.
It's a conspiracy.
Yeah, it's sugar water and it's just boiled down.
Yep.
But this is not another candy episode. This is a creative episode. You and I take care of, I would say, 98% of anything and everything that the church sees visually on our screens, on our live stream, on our social media, video editing, video producing, idea generator. Most creative things go through your desk or my desk. And it was you actually came up with the idea and I was like, this is a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, your creative juices were flowing.
It's the Alani New.
So yeah, y'all are on like a Alani New fix.
I'm telling you.
It's like a new energy drink, right?
Well, I don't know how new it is. It's new to me.
It's Alani New.
Yeah, it is Alani New. But it is, it's good for you energy. I'm not into, I got into Red Bull for like a hot second, like years and years and years ago. But that's not like, it didn't replace coffee.
Yeah.
Went back to coffee almost instantly. And I'm not big on energy drinks because of how really dangerous they can be. And Alani New is, Alani New, if you are listening to this, shameless plug, ad, you should pay to advertise on this podcast. It is seriously amazing. No joke.
I'll advertise anything. If somebody wants to help donate to the cause, like I'll talk about whatever. So, I don't do energy, like energy drinks or coffee or nothing. I wake up and I'm like, I yell at my dog.
Pep in your step already.
Yell at my dog because she's like howling at 5:30 in the morning. I go take her for a walk and then I'm good. I'm ready to go. I need like a couple minutes just to kind of woosa, just take some deep breaths, but I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, I can't do the energy drinks. But getting back on the creative thing. So it's funny like how, like ever since I've been on staff here and then you have been on staff here, like our roles have changed with like things that we oversee creatively, because I was once in charge and doing the social media, and now you are. And I think that you're killing it because you're doing such an amazing job of making it ours. So much more original content. Not that it's bad to post scripture verses like I was doing, or just random questions that you've come across, but it's taking out what we do here at Southridge Church and just saying, this is what we are seeing happen in people's lives. We want to celebrate it, and we want you to celebrate alongside of us.
Right.
Now, in a previous, you've worked for a church previous to this. Were you in charge of their social media as well?
No, I was not. And I can get a little bit more into that. Not the role, but just the not doing social media part. But no, I was mostly office admin, created the bulletin, the newsletter, all that kind of stuff. And, answered phones and things like that.
Like the bulletin, like the piece of paper that they hand out every single Sunday.
Yep.
It's got like this week's happenings or whatever. Did you have to put like the attendance on there?
No, they didn't do stuff like that.
It wasn't like that. I still find it kind of strange whenever I think about it, like people like that put the attendance records like on the wall, or like how much offering was given.
Oh yeah,
tithes and offerings were given. But anyways, so like whenever you got here, like was social media like ever like just in general, like just trying to be creative, was that ever on your radar of things that because you started off as Scott's assistant?
Yeah.
Like you were in charge of his calendar. You were telling him where to go, what to show up dressed in.
I only wish that I was telling him where to go, because that would be me being the boss.
But essentially you're putting stuff in his calendar so that you are telling him where to go.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you got lunch with so-and-so at this time,
When I was initially hired, social media was not on my radar at all.
Yeah.
In fact, before I was even like being on staff here at the church was a thing. During COVID, Scott had asked if I would just, post on our social media accounts just to kind of stay active, let people know, hey, we're still here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I can do that reluctantly. So here's the one small part of my creative brain is I don't like redundance and doing the same thing over and over and over again. And so even though posting on social media and managing social media, like you're doing different things every day, you get to use your creativity.
Yeah.
But you're still essentially at the root of it doing the same thing every single day.
Yeah.
And so that got really old really fast. And I was volunteering my time. So probably after a month or two, I told him, no, I'm not doing it anymore. It's boring. You need to find somebody else or do it yourself, because it's just, I have no brain power or energy to devote to that. And so when becoming the communications director here at the church, switching roles from his administrative assistant to doing communications in all sorts, that meant taking on the role of social media management. And I'm like,
I know this is nothing that you want to do, but we're going to assign it to you anyways.
No joke, because Facebook is easier for me to post because I'm on it more.
Yeah.
But social media as a whole, I had to, this is where I think like my working genius comes in, the tenacity. That's not one of my top working geniuses.
Have we taken that here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have.
I don't remember my results.
I am the queen of quizzes and assessments and all that. So I know all of mine. But that is something that I had to really dig deep and be like, I've got to find a way to make this fun.
Yeah.
And make it enjoyable, or I'm not going to enjoy coming to work anymore.
Yeah.
And somehow I kid you not, I still I rarely even post on my own social media unless it's like I'm already on there and I'm like, oh, this is fun. I don't even like post pictures of my kids that often. I'm not like, I'm there to just be a ghost. Like I want to scroll. That's it.
Yeah.
I have it has been the power of the Holy Spirit working in me, has allowed me to find managing and posting to social media as my job enjoyable. It's the strangest thing. But no, it was not on my radar.
Yeah.
When I first started.
Well, let me ask you like this. I guess I kind of want to take a couple steps back because we're going to be talking about like creativity and things. And I think it's just good for people to kind of get to know you just a little bit better and kind of see what like makes you tick in this role now. Mm-hmm. How would you define creativity?
How I would define creativity. I initially you could say that I thought that it was innovation, but let's be real. There's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
It's just people finding new ways of reintroducing something.
Yeah.
But I think the creativity is an individual's personal interpretation and presentation of that idea or product or service or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, for instance, creativity in my world was the start of it was photography.
Yeah.
And photography is not new. There's no new style of photography.
Yeah.
However, there are different perspectives that a person can give to a style. Or there are just different avenues but it has to be, it's an individual. So that is how I define creativity, is not innovation, but innovation compounded with an individual's particular addition, spark.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Have you always found yourself to be creative, or is it something that you like, say for instance, like, were you ever in kind of like any kind of like arts style classes in high school or maybe middle school, and then it's just something that you've always been drawn to, or is it something that you maybe felt like I was growing into this at a later stage in your life?
So my mom is very talented in the art world. Like, she knows how to paint canvases and things like that. And I knew that at a young age. And my sister is also very artsy in that way. Like, she can draw, she can paint, she writes beautifully. And in my mind, when I was younger, that's what creativity was. That's what a creative person. So I always assumed that I wasn't creative because I can't even draw a stick figure pretty. Like, that drawing is not my strong suit.
Yeah.
But I do remember from a young age loving photography. Mm-hmm. I mean, get my hands on a video camera or a regular camera, a digital camera, a film cameras were huge for me in like late elementary school.
Yeah. Like
the 35 millimeter. And I, if I would see a movie and there was like a unique camera in that movie, I would be obsessed with it and I would research it and all that kind of stuff. And then in high school, when we were able to take like unique classes, I took like digital imaging and multimedia. I took like advanced computer classes where it wasn't so much like typing or anything like that. It was just like really learning different creative aspects of graphics, like digital design, like websites and things like that. I didn't get into like Adobe or anything like that until my photography business, which was like 2015. Yeah. So I guess it kind of progressed. I didn't realize that I was a creative, honestly, until a couple of years into my photography business. Yeah. But in a way, in my own way, I have always been a creative. Yeah. I've always been a visual learner. I've always been drawn to textures and colors and, different aspects, but more so on the digital side.
Yeah. There was whenever the Adobe products came out, it was like 93, 94, I think is whenever it really started to get big because they were using it in films and such, especially the guys over at I've just drawn a blank. Industrial Light and Magic. So the people that do all the special effects in films and stuff like that. So they were using all the Adobe products, and they were building computers to be able to compute all this stuff early 90s. Whenever I was in high school in the late 90s, my art teacher, she offered a class on Photoshop, and I've been super infatuated like ever since then. I don't know that I've ever gone maybe a week since my sophomore year in high school without opening Adobe Photoshop, just in tinkering with something.
Yeah.
I've always been drawn to it. I always like creating stuff, especially digitally, because I can draw and I do really well, but I feel like my strong suit is anything creatively on the computer. But I found it as a way just to express like ideas and like let my imagination run wild in like art that I was creating. Now, obviously that evolved a lot whenever I started working for churches doing sermon series and whatnot. And I'm learning to create things in video, which is completely different. But I've always been, I feel like I've always like, I don't know if you heard this whenever Pastor Anna was on, I told a story about how I almost got arrested for graffiti because I was spray painting all over the place because I've always just been drawn to different art styles and whatnot. But, what do you do, or what do you find yourself to keep yourself motivated doing these things? Because you said that, like social media wasn't necessarily the greatest thing in the world, but then you've kind of evolved into like really loving it. But like whenever you're creating something, what are some things that you find in yourself to stay motivated? Because it's real easy to get unmotivated to do certain things, especially if they do feel repetitive.
Yeah. So one of the cool things that it's kind of a double-edged sword, because for me as an Enneagram 7, I am a dreamer and I like to, I'm not so great at coming up with an original idea.
Yeah.
That is not my wheelhouse. What I know that I am good at is hearing someone's idea and saying, how can we take that to the next level?
Yeah.
And so I'm going back to your question in my mind. 1 second.
You're good.
You asked about my motivation. So in a lot of different areas of life, rabbit holing and like dreaming and like going down, Alice in Wonderland, it's not necessarily okay. But for me, when I'm creating something, I know and this is something that I have to tell myself almost daily. Meghan, you just need to put something on the freaking paper. Not the paper, but the canvas on Photoshop or Illustrator or InDesign or whatever. You just need to put something.
Yeah.
And then start creating what you see once you see what you put there.
Yeah.
Then that's when I let my mind start to spiral and rabbit hole, because then I'm like, okay, what if I do this? And I just do it. And if it looks good, I'm going to keep going with it. If it doesn't, I go back.
Yeah.
Or I do something else with it. And that's when letting myself kind of like keep going with it, when in other areas I really shouldn't do that. I really shouldn't, like if I'm planning an event or if I'm writing a sermon or something like that, where I really shouldn't let my mind wander too much. That's when that part of my creativity is not necessarily needed or wanted. But in creating something visual where I have the time, and it's really just, there's no box around that. You know, you don't have to fit it in a certain box, as long as it just says what you need it to say, and you portray that to the people that you're trying to share that with. Those are really the only rules that you have when you're talking about graphic creativity.
Okay, how do you stay motivated?
My motivation is letting my mind wander. Okay. And letting myself go deeper and deeper.
Yeah. Just not being bound by rules, I think is one of is probably an easier way to say that.
I just let my mind go.
Yeah, I know. You're like, don't go down the rabbit
trail. But
I'm
trying, but that's why I was like trying to say, in most areas of my life, like, that's not okay.
Yeah.
Like in a podcast where we have rules and time constraints, letting your mind wander is not.
I look at things in the opposite.
Cool thing.
Because I see my canvas and I go, what can I put in there? Not be bound by the limitations or kind of go left and right and up and down and all around it. It's, for me, it's what can I put in here and that's trying to convey the message that I'm trying to get across. So like with sermon series design, it's like the imagery that I'm using, is it real easy to correlate like what you're seeing with the topics that are going to be preached. And so like, it's not necessarily like we're doing we have a sermon series called Stained Glass Crash coming up at the beginning of next year. And it's not so much just using imagery of stained glass, but what can I do what other kind of imagery can I put in there that's going to make it go, okay, like this is different. This is something unique. And it may not be unique for the people that watch it, but is it something new and trying and difficult for myself? So like, what kind of cracks can I put in here? Because like we're trying to talk about like these old tenets of faith, supposedly like Jesus came to break all that stuff around and break it down. And so like, what can I fit in this little 1920 by 1080 little image box, like that's going to help convey it? So I'm grabbing for everything that's outside of it and putting it in there instead of starting from inside the box trying to look out of it. So I'm tossing, and whatever sticks inside the box is for me. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of like, for me, I can get so paralyzed by, okay, what do I put in here? What do I do? And I'm like, you know what? Yeah. Here's what needs to be in here right now. And
I don't need bubbles.
And then you can make it yours. You can make it something visually beautiful.
Yeah.
So like, for instance, Stained Glass Crash.
Yeah.
What I would have to start with, because I know how I operate, is the size of my canvas and the title of the sermon series.
Yeah.
That has to be there.
Yeah.
And then I can let my mind wander.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I can just let it go and I can try things. And if it doesn't stick, it doesn't stick. If it sticks, great. But if I have been in situations where I'm like, I don't even know what to put in the box. Like, I try to start with like a brush stroke or a color or a square. And I'm like, I don't even know if that's going to work.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, Megan, you just need to put what has to be there first.
Yeah.
And then change your fonts, change your colors, change your sizes, change the elements within the image.
Yeah,
and it will work out.
There's so many different things. Like whenever people create logo designs and stuff, so they do mock-ups. So they just do a 60-second challenge, and so they mark like a grid on their paper. And so in this box, they just take 60 seconds just to scribble down an idea, and then every minute until the page is filled up, and just start alleviating things that just don't work or don't like convey the message of the company that they're designing a logo. And then they get it down to like 10 or 15, and then they kind of fine tune those a little bit more and then whittle them down. And I think that like having a creative process is super important, because then at the end of the day, the end result is going to be something super, like it's going to be so memorable. Now, do you ever critique your work? Like, honestly, do you ever critique your work? Like, try to take a step back, disconnect the emotional connection that you have with it, because it's something that you've created, and like looked at it and just say, okay, like
that
if I saw this and somebody else created it, is this good or not good?
For my own work, I have not figured out really how to do that yet.
Yeah.
Because what I typically do is while I'm creating something, I critique it. So by the time I'm finished with it, I have already done draft number 1, critique, edit, draft number 2, critique. Like, I have gone through that process.
Yeah.
And so, and maybe that's not a good way of doing it, because by the time I'm finished, I am already so like, I've already done all of that work, and I've already gotten myself emotionally involved in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so by the end of it, when someone's like, I am not really crazy about that, I'm like, I will throat punch you, because I have worked so hard on this, and I've critiqued it myself, and you know, said this sucks and this is not good, and so, but I mean, that's the way that I critique my own stuff.
Yeah.
You know, other people have their own ways, but yeah, I can say at the end of something, if it's not like a work, like if it's not like a true labor, like if it's just, you know, a social media post where I'm like, you know what, I know that this is what I want to say, I just need to add some cool like elements to it.
Yeah.
If it doesn't look that great, like if someone's like, I'm not really crazy about the colors or the whatever, I'm like, okay, I can change it, no big deal.
Yeah.
But if it's something like,
scrap the whole thing.
Yeah, it's like, that's not really the vibe I was going for. And I'm like, I feel like there should have been some better communication then, because this is, or I was in my head already when you said, hey, let's do this.
Yeah, you already had
and I already had an idea. That's another blind spot that I have.
Yeah. So do you feel like sometimes, like maybe being rejected from like within an idea that you have, do you think like whenever you start another project, if that's affected your creative process?
In the same day, maybe. Like if it's like, I hate this, do it over. And then it's like, well, you also need to do this project. Like if it was in the same day, I would probably kind of have a little bit of a salty, like, well, I don't even know if I should create this because you're going to hate it. The next day I'm like a dog. I'm like, oh, I love you. And everything's great. So it's just, it depends on, if it's the same day, don't ask me.
Yeah.
But the next day, it's fine.
Yeah, I feel like just because I spend so much time looking at my computer, and you put so much time and effort in trying to create something, and if it just falls flat, and it's like way too late to make any changes, and they're like, I guess we're gonna go with this, because this happened with our Christmas series last year.
I remember that.
It took me like 3 months to get out of like a funk, because it wasn't necessarily like my feelings getting hurt. It was, I was trying to work out some things personally, like, okay, how do we prevent this from happening?
Yeah.
How do we, like, I need to ask more questions. I need to write this down. I need to make sure that this is put in the notes and in our Asana app, which is like where we schedule tasks for everybody and whatnot. And just so I don't miss the mark, because I feel like I could have done way better than what I had. Not that what I did was terrible by any means. It was good, but it just didn't fit the message of what we were doing. So it took me like a 3 month, like just, I was in a rut. It took me forever to get out of it. But yeah, so yeah, being rejected with stuff like that is it's difficult, but I choose to learn things or take things like that and use it as a learning experience, to where I'm not repeating the same steps and then I'm forever in a rut creatively. So
I was going to ask you a question. I'll probably think of it.
No, it's all good. Do you think that you would be able to teach someone like what you do?
I could easily teach someone the technicals of what I do.
Yeah.
Like the nuts and bolts. But at the end of the day, creativity again is it's individuality.
Yeah.
And so even though I teach someone, unless I literally sit there with them and tell them what to do, what to type, how to make, like what font to pick and things like that, it's going to look different.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, yeah, I mean, you could teach someone how to, use Adobe Photoshop in a couple of days. Just kind of
basics.
Yeah. But you're not looking to someone to teach you how to be your version of creative.
Yeah.
You're looking at someone how to teach you just how to work the systems.
Yeah.
And then once you know how to work the systems, then you add your own individuality to it.
Yeah. Well, do you think that creativity is part of human nature, or is it something that must be nurtured and cultivated and learned?
Well, I believe, we were created in the image of someone who created the entire world.
Yep.
And it's beautiful.
Yep.
And so with that in mind, we all have creativity in us. It just looks really different. Like for Pastor Anna, her creativity, she's good at everything creative wise, but her wheelhouse is painting and drawing and writing word art and that kind of, that's her wheelhouse. She is incredible at that.
Yeah.
My wheelhouse is photography and videography. Mm-hmm. Your wheelhouse is graphic design, mm-hmm. digital design. And so, but even aside from that, my husband's creativity is none of those things. It is putting words together, which we all know.
How can I creatively get this whole sandwich in my mouth?
No, but his is putting words together.
I love you, Scott. Don't get mad at me. But how can I creatively tell someone that I don't like vegetables?
Yeah. Yeah. His way of the way he puts sermons together and is able to speak them is a form of creativity that, let's be real, neither one of us possess.
Yeah.
We suck at words.
I do.
I speak for myself.
I'm terrible.
am terrible with words.
Yeah.
And so everybody is like my mom. She is very creative. Yes, she can paint, but that was moons ago. She is creative in the kitchen. My sister, everybody has their own version of creativity in the way they see the world. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in the artsy.
Yeah, I agree with that statement. I think that everybody's got a form of creativity, and most people think that to be creative, you have to be doing something with art.
Yeah.
And it's not even necessarily the case. I think that there's creative individuals who are electricians. And so people that do all the cabling for complex systems, you've got to be super creative mm-hmm. on getting all of the wiring for a whole ginormous building for all the telephones and the internet and all that other stuff. You got to be creative on how you get it from all those rooms down to a big old server room down in the basement. I think I look at people who are welders and they're presented with unique opportunities to weld something that may not be just a stereotypical perpendicular weld, something that's just mm-hmm. two straight lines coming together. There's different things, and so they have to get creative doing those things. It's not necessarily what most people would say would be creative, but I think there's creativity in everything
Absolutely.
that people
Some people
do.
even use it for illegal activity, like jewelry heist. They are very creative in how they're going to get into a building, steal the heart of the ocean.
You're watching too many movies.
And but if you think about it, people are creative for good or evil. That everybody's got creativity in them.
Yeah.
That's what my mind went to.
But that's not real life, though. Like a whole bunch of people,
It's
like
not, but it's still
it's usually just
creativity.
smash and grab, like in real life.
I know.
There's not like a whole bunch of people standing outside of a building with like all the loot
I
that they
bet
just
you
plundered.
if
Hold
you-
on. Yeah, this is a good one. You have to listen to this. So there's not a whole bunch of people like standing outside of the building that they just looted with bags, and they're looking at each other like, "Where's the van? Where's the van?" Like that doesn't happen in real life. People just like once they smash and grab, they're gone. So they're not like trying to like Mission Impossible their way through lasers.
You don't know?
No.
Google it.
No.
I
don't
guarantee
need to.
you there are actual jewelry heists that have happened in the world, and people developed plans.
You know what their plan was? I'm gonna dress up like a security guard, go in there and smash
Have
this
you
case.
ever seen National Treasure, how they stole the Declaration of Independence?
That is so.
That is creativity at
You-
its finest.
That is a filmmaker at its finest. That is delusional if you think that happens in real life.
Call me delusional. I now know
You are
how
creatively
to steal the
thinking.
Declaration of Independence. Legally Blonde made me want to become a lawyer. So when I was in high school.
As if. That was good, right? Isn't that a line in Legally Blonde? Don't they say as if a lot?
I don't know. I don't know if it's that
Hmm.
or. Nope, that's Clueless.
Clueless. Oh, okay. I'm neither here or there. How do you know? How do you know whenever you're done creative something that like a piece or a project that you're working on is like you're finished, you're done. You're like, I don't want to touch this anymore. Like I just want to send it and just be done.
Honestly, the only medium that I've been able to do that is with videography.
Yeah.
And it is the final thing that I do. I have in mind what I want to use, but I never do this until the video in what I think is completely ready.
Yeah.
Is I add the music to it.
Yeah.
And once I get the music right, because it can take me days to find the perfect music to put to a video.
Yeah.
To portray the mood and the vision that we're trying to share in the video. And so I haven't figured that out on even photography. And I've been doing photography way longer than I've been doing anything else.
Yeah.
But for the most part, everything I'm just like, you know what, this is my style. I just need to be done with it. That's for photography. That's what I do. Sometimes I'll mess around with like a session that I've done and be like, you know, I really want to warm that up a little bit more. I want to make that more contrasty or whatever.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, you know what, at the end of the day, I know what my style is and people hired me for my style. And that just needs to be what it is. But with videography, I know that I'm done when I add the music, and that
is so
speaks
funny.
to me.
Like I think you and I like do things exact opposite, because I always start off with music with like bumper videos and stuff like that. I find the music first before I even have the ideas, and then I listen to that song probably 100 times, and I'm going, okay, I like this part of it, I like this part, what can I do in this? Is this little section like good enough for like a minute? Because that's what our bumper videos run. And then I go, okay, and I listen to it 100 times, and I just try to visualize like what's happening.
To piggyback on that, once I find the perfect song, I will add it to the video, and I'll watch the video the whole way through.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, this is a climactic part of this song. Something climactic needs to happen here. Yeah. So
like a Declaration of Independence being stolen.
That movie was scored so well. So it's not, I mean, it's done when you add the music, but it's not done.
Like the Declaration of Independence. You should sneak that into a video. Just old Nick Cage going, oh my gosh, we got it.
You stole the Declaration.
And then that lady
of
freaking out. She's like,
Independence.
what? Got the Declaration.
Yes, and it's very old.
Yes.
Anywho.
Oh my goodness. Have you ever felt that your personal expectations have limited your creativity?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the only way that I was able to get rid of that was just to be like, okay, Meghan, you need to just put something on the canvas. You need, like, if it's the series title, if it's what, like if it's just an encouraging or inspiring post for our social media accounts, like I think last week or a couple weeks ago, I posted like, God's not done with you.
Yep.
I knew someone was telling, or not someone, but the Lord was telling me that needs to be a social media post because someone needs to hear that right now.
Yeah.
Someone needs to see that. And so I'm like, oh, what do I need to do with this post? Okay, Meghan, it is not that big of a deal. God wants you to share that. It just needs to be on a post, and then figure out the elements after you put it on there. So that is the way that I have been able to overcome that.
Yeah. Yeah. I find that like everything that I want to do, like I just don't necessarily have the right knowledge to be able to do it. And so my personal expectations for me to create something are so high. And because I don't know how to do a certain thing or make something kind of swoosh in or whatever, or do whatever, like it has limited somewhat my creative. I would say it limits my block of the day that is like for creativity.
Yeah.
And so I spend a lot of time like researching and trying to do that. So I wouldn't say it like limits it and like trying to make something happen. It just limits the amount of time that I have to like just get something done instead of like studying or learning a new way to make something explode and crack or whatever. But yeah, my personal expectations, and I think this is where you and I have a lot in common, is that we want to do our absolute best for like the church and the things that people are seeing, and we don't want to fail in that aspect. We don't want to, because there's so much at stake. People say, oh, it's just a social media post. It's just a bumper video. It's just a graphic that's on a pre-service slide that never gets shown anywhere else. But there's so much at stake because we're talking about eternity. And if there's something that we can put out there for the world to see that draws people into the message that we are giving everyone about a God who loves them unconditionally, that Jesus died for them and he loves us all, and that you could be freed from whatever's plaguing you or holding you back, then yeah, there is a lot of expectation to get it right. You know, I wouldn't say that it limits our creativity, but it gives us it's just the expectation is high because people like you and I are visual people. And so if something's not done well visually, like I can check out and I won't even pay attention.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like if 100%. You see something that it's like bad and you're going, man, but there's people that are like that. They connect visually. And so I think that they're just the expectation of trying to do things with excellence.
Well, and two, one of the ways, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with it was, let's just say I'm going to go to the movies. I like watching movies. I'm not really like, I don't want to pay the prices, which I'm not even a cheapskate either, but I just don't, it's not my thing. Like it's Scott's thing. It's not my thing, but there is like this, I don't know, like 15-second clip that they show before the movie starts. Yeah. And it's like a roller coaster going through all the different elements of going to see a movie.
Yeah, the popcorn. And
and I'm like, that is amazing. And I literally feel like I'm riding that roller coaster every single time I see it. And that is one of the things that makes me want to come back to see a movie, is that little 15-second clip. And it's like, it's the same thing for church. If I see a clip of like a women's event or Easter service, or not even a clip, just like an image, and it is done so, not like perfectly or impeccably, but it's just done so visually appealing that like makes me want to be like, what are you doing? Yeah. I want to come back. I want to know what you're doing. Yeah. Like if it's a picnic, if you're inviting me to a picnic, do not put a picture of a cheeseburger and a picnic basket on a flyer. You need to make it look like the movie Enchanted, when she's singing in the park and there's balloons and like it's like a circus. Like I don't know.
I've never seen it.
What?
Yeah, I've never seen it.
Oh my gosh. So maybe what's happening with me is my life is a movie. I see the world in movies. Could be.
Yeah.
Whether it's 15-second clips, Instagram stories, YouTube videos, 3-hour-long movies, whatever it is. Like that's how I see the world.
I'm pretty sure you
Crazy.
can find that clip though of the roller coaster on YouTube.
But it's like the coolest thing ever.
I know.
I would love to ride a roller coaster like that.
Not me. I don't need no popcorn exploding in my face.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing.
Nope.
Anyway.
You don't need, Scott was telling me you don't even like buttered popcorn.
Sure don't. It grosses me out.
Because it's all soggy.
Soggy and it tastes like fat and ugh. I like just like I buy the Orville Redenbachers like lightly salted and lightly buttered. Like it's like a hint. It's almost like LaCroix for popcorn.
That don't make sense.
It does.
It makes sense.
It's like a hint of a hint.
Yeah.
Like you're eating popcorn beside a block of butter.
Like, yeah.
That's what it is.
That was good. Is there any like environmental factors that you like? What I'm trying to say is like, is there anything like you have to have happen environmentally? Do you create with music on? Do you turn off the lights to where it's just the light of your computer screen, or like what do you do like environmentally? Because I think it affects everything, like where you're at. Because look, I know everybody knows that you share an office with Scott, and everybody knows
that he sings
on Thursdays, especially on Thursdays.
I can't do anything when he sings.
Yeah, and so like, is there anything environmentally that you have to have happen just for you to kind of like, that like I'm getting in the zone? Even musicians do this, they're like, I can't write not unless I'm in a studio or in my basement.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Honestly, I think just having like normal surroundings. Like I really can't have on any music that I like or any music that I dislike because that's distracting.
Yeah.
Anything that like my ears will pick up, it's almost like it reminds me of like the focus of a camera. Like anything that's going to battle for that focus.
Yeah.
I can't have.
Yeah.
Good or bad. And so, but it really, like if it's just like maybe someone walking past the office, like the hustle and bustle, like as long as I don't hear like a specific conversation, like if I like, as long as I don't hear two people talking and I know what they're talking about and I'm like, oh yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, somebody
like I'm putting myself in that conversation. I can't. So
I want to go talk about dogs or cats or whatever.
But if I hear a dog barking outside, it's totally fine because I don't know what they're saying.
Yeah,
I can't be in on that conversation. But I like, or like the fans blowing or something like that. Like it's just, it is enough noise. But I mean, as far as like where I'm at, honestly, I love doing what I love. Like, let's just say photography. Mm-hmm. I can be fully present. And this is so weird. I can be fully present and creative. Like if my husband's in the car, like I went and did a couple photo shoots on Saturday and Scott went with me and he just sat in the car and was like 10 feet away from me. And like, I got some of the most amazing pictures. And it's just because I know that he's with me. I know that like, if my kids come with me, like I can just be present. Yeah. I'm not thinking about what I'm missing out on, with my family and stuff like that. So it's weird. I don't have any type of muse. I don't need like, I have to eat a turkey sandwich on rye with whole grain mustard and I have to have the temperature at 65 degrees. Yeah. Like I don't need any, like there's nothing specific. It's just, I can't have truly, because I am a squirrel type person. Like,
yeah,
I get distracted very easily.
Yeah, I try to limit like anything that's going to take my attention. So I've got my lights in here on a dimmer, and I dim them down to maybe about like 25% strength. I put on like lo-fi instrumental music, so something that just like nothing that I'm going to recognize. Just kind of get in the zone, and then I start looking up ideas. How do I do this? And just like start knocking anything and everything out that I've got to do. But yeah, I can't do the music. I have to shut my door. I need to get like a little thing, because I get like rabbit or squirrel moments. Rabbit. I don't even know what I'm doing. Squirrel moments where I see somebody walk by and I'm like, oh, I need to go say hi to them really quick. Like, just because I don't know.
You're a nice guy.
I'm part dog. I'm just like, I've never met a stranger, you know? I'm just like, yeah. Anyways, well, cool. I enjoyed this. I still think that.
If you say anything about National Treasure.
Okay. Hopefully they don't mention anything about mystery meat in that movie.
No, there's no mention of food. She does hide behind a meat counter.
Oh, there she is.
In the first movie.
All right, time for our mystery meat. And so if you've just joined us for the first time and you're listening to this episode, we have a mystery meat question where a whole bunch of random questions get put in this jar. We just kind of stir them up, grab one, and it's just like the potluck table. You never know what you're going to get. Go away, Anna. She's standing outside the window looking at us. Would you rather go a year with no...
I love it when you ask the question partially and then start laughing.
Would you rather go a year with no eyelashes or go a year with no eyebrows?
Oh my gosh. That sounds awful.
They're miserable either way.
Well, okay. So can I ask this? If you have no eyebrows, can you get them tattooed on? Or do you just have to be like,
no,
you're not allowed to have any?
Yeah.
Nothing. Oh my gosh. Maybe eyelashes, because story time. I
feel like this episode's been nothing but story time.
That's my life. When I was in middle school, I used to shave my eyebrows.
Like
not
all the way off?
No. But like in the early 2000s, girls, like the popular now, like the more the merrier. But before, it was like the thinner the better.
You were in middle school in the early 2000s?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm old.
Well, I'm not. So, but that was the trend, was like super thin eyebrows.
Yeah.
And so I would shave them to get them really thin. And one time I accidentally shaved too much. That combined with I always wore foundation that was too dark and I never blended in, and it stopped right here and I looked like a pumpkin.
Oh, do you have pictures? Goodness,
No.
please tell me.
My parents have pictures, but I even got a yearbook picture taken like that.
No.
Mm-hmm. It was great. So I would have to say eyelashes, because I can use eyeliner to kind of create that illusion of eyelashes. Yeah. I could not go without eyebrows.
I would say eyelashes for me as well. I haven't figured out the purpose of eyelashes yet.
Well, you don't have to wear mascara.
Well, I'm just saying in general. Like, I don't know the scientific reason why we have eyelashes, but I know why we have eyebrows. So whenever you sweat, and if it's beating off of your head, it hits your eyebrows, and the way that your hair follicles are pointed, it pushes it away from your eyes. That's why God put them there. So then
eyelashes are just another protective thing.
I don't know.
Just Google it. If you Google why we have eyelashes,
I haven't gotten to that point in my life where I need to waste that much time.
Can I tell you something? I was scrolling through Instagram earlier, and I follow all these different like Enneagram accounts. And one of them is of the Enneagram 7. And it's like top Google searches of the Enneagram 7. And it's literally like all these like random searches.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I literally did that the other day. Like that specific search. So.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on today and kind of opening a door into creativity and how you feel about it and how you view things and your creative process. And once again, I think that you're just doing a fantastic job. Not that I'm your boss or anything, but just from coworker,
Does this count
colleague.
as my review?
No, unfortunately, you've got that coming up. That's your husband's job. He will give you the year-end review. So, but no, you're doing a fantastic job. Keep it up. I think it's amazing. Man. I think it's awesome to see just how people are connecting with us through all of our social media and emails and website and all of that. So keep it up. And you guys keep on listening to the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. We thank you so much. We hope that you have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you. We're going to have another episode all through the Christmas and the New Year's break. So don't go anywhere. Every single Friday, new episode. Love you all. Hope you have a wonderful holiday season, and we'll talk to you later. Thank you so much for listening in with us today. We really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram. You can also watch the video version of this on YouTube as well. All you have to do is search up the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. From all of us here, we want to say thank you, and we'll see you next week.